The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Hi, I'm Mike O'Sullivan, CEO of One South Coast Chamber of Commerce, and I'm joined today on the One South Coast Business Connection by Katie Green, our Vice President of Marketing and Events, and Ian Trombley, our Vice President of Public Policy. Today is Ian's first time on television. So welcome, Katie and Ian.
Thanks, Mike.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, welcome, Ian. So Ian, you've been working on a lot of public policy initiatives. Why don't you give us an update on what you have going on?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Katie. There's a lot going on. 2024 is going to be a very exciting year for policy and politics in general. At the top of everyone's mind is, of course, the highly anticipated presidential race. I don't know about either of you, but that is something I want to stay as far away from as humanly possible. But there's a lot of other stuff happening on the federal and state and local level as well. We're about halfway through FY24 on the state's fiscal year, and we're not meeting budget expectations for 6 months in a row now. Almost 7 months. We'll find out in a few days. Revenues have come under benchmark, which is a bit concerning. Governor Maura Healey just announced, I think it was $375 million in budget cuts. We're expecting about $1 billion gap in this year's current budget. They're hoping to raise some revenues in other areas to fill that gap, but spending is up with the migrant crisis going on throughout the state, and revenues are down. With that said, Governor Maura Healey just released her FY25 budget. It was a $58 billion budget, up 3% from last year's budget. We are expecting, this really is just a press release for the governor. This is her ambitions, what she would like to see done by the legislature. The first budget really comes from the House side. So we'll see that coming out in a few months, followed up by the Senate, and then it will return back to the governor for her final signature. Hopefully by June 30th will be the end of the fiscal year. We haven't met that deadline in the past year, hoping we can meet it this year because there's still a lot more to come on the policy front. July 31st, shortly after, will be the end of the legislative session, a 2-year session. All legislation that hopes to be passed and needs to be passed by July 31st, or it effectively dies. Everyone will then go home on July 31st for their campaigns. Got a lot on the ballot this year. As I mentioned, the presidential election. We have our United States Senator, Elizabeth Warren's on the ballot. Our United States Representatives are on the ballot, State Senate, state reps, some local and county elections as well. So it's a really exciting time. This is going to be a year I'm sure none of us ever forget in politics and policy. And that being said, that means there's a lot for the Chamber to work on as well. We have a pretty robust schedule this year.
For a very robust
schedule. Yeah.
Ian, before you jump into the schedule, as you came on board in October, and as you talk to more and more members, what are some of the topics that you're hearing from the members that are of concern to them?
Yeah, a lot of it I would say is prices. Taxes are a big one. Taxes are going up kind of across the board, whether it's local taxes or state taxes. Healthcare is another big one. But quite honestly, the biggest one I'd say is staffing issues. Not that that's really, it is a policy in a sense, but staff, every industry, every sector seems to be having challenges with staffing right now.
Still, I mean, we started this during COVID times, and we're still hearing this, 4 years later.
Yeah, and well, to the average person, it may not seem like a legislative or government issue. The solutions have to be partially based in there, and it seems to me there are some areas that are doing great. You know, Bristol Community College actually has really done a great job. At the state level, the Reconnect program, where if you're over 25 years old, you can go to community college for free. There are programs and initiatives coming out of the legislature that should help a lot.
Absolutely, absolutely. And at my previous time at SouthCoast Health in their government affairs office, we concentrated because there was a big staffing challenge across the whole healthcare industry. So trying to find incentives, tuition reimbursement, whatever it might be, to kind of incentivize staffers to join the South Coast, come to the South Coast, work on the South Coast. But it's like that across other industries, especially the education industry, which I think we're going to talk about later. But it's a major problem across all sectors that we need to really be focusing on.
Yeah, very true.
And to that point, we're going to be doing a lot of advocacy. But with the robust schedule that we have, a big piece of advocacy is really giving our members in the business community a forum to talk directly with our legislators and our decision makers. I know we're going to do the events later, but just a super high level, I mean, we're going to have our chairman of Ways and Means, Senator Mike Rodrigues, one of the most powerful legislators up on Beacon Hill, talk directly, give us an outlook on kind of the budget, what he sees, where we're at currently, what he's projecting for next year's budget. What an awesome opportunity. We're very fortunate to have him representing southeastern Massachusetts in the Greater Fall River area. We have the...
Let me interrupt there
absolutely.
for a second. Anybody who wants to see Senator Rodrigues needs to sign up by tomorrow on OneSouthCoast.com.
Well, we don't know when this is airing. That's our issue.
You might have missed your opportunity already. Hopefully we saw you there.
Yes, you have until Friday the 2nd at 4 p.m. to sign up on our website.
Good point. I might have missed that opportunity.
But we're going to have the Commonwealth Leadership Series. We're going to have several secretaries from the governor's cabinet come down, education, labor, economic development, transportation. We're really excited about this. Having these opportunities to communicate directly with some of these decision makers, like the governor's cabinet, is an awesome opportunity and really excites me. Of course, we do a lot of advocacy as well, writing letters, advocating on different legislation or whatever it might be directly to our legislators. But I really believe a big part of advocacy is getting our membership and our community directly in front of those decision makers.
And we've had some great success as members of the Mass Chamber Policy Network as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great point. That policy network is a group of the 10 largest chambers in Massachusetts that come together. A lot of the issues that southeastern Massachusetts businesses face are challenges that businesses across the Commonwealth are facing. So giving, working together with this coalition of 10 of the largest chambers, we can find issues that we're all dealing with and come together as one larger voice up on Beacon Hill. We've gotten some press already. We've written a few letters, I believe, and it's really been quite successful. It's great to see the work of that coalition really getting the attention it deserves up at the State House.
Great.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Very much.
Thanks, Ian. So, Mike, we've been working on some DEI initiatives at the Chamber. We actually held just the other week our annual Business After Hours, our DEI Business After Hours. We held that at UMass Law in Dartmouth on the 25th of January. That was a great turnout, wasn't it?
It was a terrific turnout, and it's really, to be able to host a DEI type of event is really, it's important for us because, we do not want to be known as just the old white guys business network. We don't. And even though the CEO looks like an old white guy, but we have some fantastic members like Gail Forts, Bernadette Souza, and others. Helena Moranta from Bay Coast Bank, and really there's others that are on the community or on the committee, and they do a great job making us aware and knowing what the points are, and they bring when you have a business after hours, they really try to help recruit people. The point is not to just serve our existing membership; it's really to try to bring in other people who, and try to make the connection and convene people and get the conversations going. And it was exciting that night because there was a lot of great conversations going on. And it was, you know, it was all races, all ethnicities, all the towns that we serve.
Yeah.
And it was held at UMass Law, which was just a great place. And UMass was just, they really were a great host for us. And there was a lot of people I heard, I think, including Ian, saying, Ian had been in the building, but he hadn't been in it in a long time.
Right.
There were other people saying, I've never been in here. This is unbelievable.
Right. Yeah, that was my first time there. It was beautiful, beautiful space. They were so gracious to let us host it there. And like Gail Forts, who's our chair of our DEI committee, said to the crowd that night, we want to see you, don't just show up to these DEI events. We want to see this diversity represented at all of the chamber events. So keep on coming, which I think was a really powerful message.
Yeah, exactly. And yesterday I went to I went to a grand opening yesterday in New Bedford. That was hosted by the YWCA of Southeastern Mass, which Gail is the executive director of, and they opened a women's home that houses that has space for 12 women, and it was phenomenal. But there had to be over 100 people at the opening. It was really terrific to see, and many chamber members, many not chamber members, but just really getting to see what's happening in the community, because there really is great things happening in the community, and we're in from Fall River to New Bedford, and even east and further west. We really are in a very diverse community, and the interesting thing is those two communities, the diversity within the two gateway cities is so significantly different. It's interesting, even though they're only 12 miles apart, and it's amazing the difference in the diversity. But
Right.
Absolutely. It was a great event, super well attended, and UMass is a great location. And I learned that night that it's the only public law school in the state, which is fascinating. And good on UMass Dartmouth for having that there.
Absolutely,
for our community.
And if I'm not mistaken, their results, the bar results of their students have outperformed BC Law for the last 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
And I have family members that went to BC, so I like to, antagonize them
a little bit. Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the things that the Chamber is doing to help showcase diverse businesses is adding new categories to our website. So anyone who is a Chamber, any business that's a Chamber member, they're listed under categories, whether it's health and wellness, restaurants, any type of category there is. But we're actually working on adding categories that showcase diverse-owned businesses. So if you are a Chamber member or you're looking to become a Chamber member and you want to join the Chamber, we can add you into one of those diverse categories. You can reach out to Cliff, who's our Director of Membership and Retention, and he's working on that initiative right now. And then we're actually working on a DEI panel with our friends here at Bristol Community College, and it's going to be called Mosaic. And Mosaic stands for Multicultural Opportunities Serving Area Industries and the Community, which I think what an acronym, that's a great one. And that's going to be here at Bristol Community College on April 9th from 4 to 7. They're doing a panel first, and then we're going to have a great mixer afterwards. So we're really excited to be working with them there. And it's just an opportunity for our area business leaders from all backgrounds to come together to learn more about what makes up our community's cultural tapestry. That was a great tagline that they put together, and I thought that was awesome.
I'm curious who came up with Mosaic.
I'll tell you, Lucinda.
Did she?
Yes, she did. Yes, Lucinda. Yeah, Dr. Douglas's executive assistant. Clever, huh? I couldn't believe it. I was blown away when we had that Zoom meeting, and she told me, Well,
Dr. Douglas always says if you surround yourself with great people, great things will happen.
That's right.
So I guess you surround yourself with Lucinda.
Lucinda is amazing. Yes. And then we recently had our education committee meeting, our first one of the year, that was hosted by our friends at UMass Dartmouth. Great turnout there. And Ian and Mike were spearheading that event. That was,
Education committee has always been one of the more prominent committees that the Chamber has had. It goes back over 20 years, and it was one of the founders of it was Nick Christ. from Bay Coast Bank. And you know, a lot of people ask me, why is the Chamber so interested in education? And it's a very basic answer. That's, the schools are educating the workforce of the future. And then there's, of course, there's lots of different ways to look at how to educate the kids, what the challenges are, where the resources should be spent. And Nick has always pushed the Chamber to just make sure whatever we're doing, we can really show that we're moving the needle. And moving the needle is not a very specific, defined target, but as Nick has always said on a lot of things to me, is you know it when you see it.
Yeah.
You might not know exactly
Right.
what you're looking for, but when you find it, you know it.
Yeah.
And he has said that about a lot of things. But you know, so the Education Committee there's been a lot of advocacy over the years. Some just letter writing. Some a lot more involved in helping get new schools built,
Yep.
helping get Somerset Berkeley Regional School, helping get that built, helping get Westport Middle School and High School, which is not very old, getting Durfee built. We were in the background with Diamond, but we didn't really have to get involved because that just didn't seem like it needed as much advocacy. That was more, how is it going to fund, and there was debates about how to fund it, you know, between the city and the council and some things, and we didn't fortunately we didn't have to get really involved in that one, but we were ready to jump in because Diamond is such a great asset for the entire community. So we've been very involved in things like that. We did a social emotional learning summit for a few years, and we did those at Somerset Berkeley, and it started with like maybe almost 300 people. 2 years later, it had almost 400 or over 400 people, and the results were fantastic. And if you talk to Jeff Schoonover at Somerset Berkeley Regional, he can tell you the exact numbers of students that had what are categorized as social emotional learning issues, and how the numbers improved. So it really was great. Yeah. But this meeting was fun because it's the second time in 2 years that we got together. We tried to bring as many of the leaders together as we can to talk about what are the challenges that we should really be looking at. Yeah. And that was a lot of fun.
Absolutely, it really was. And one thing's for certain, there's a lot of challenges that we can try and tackle. So what we did is we brought members from the Education Committee across all of Southeastern Massachusetts, brought members of the business community across all of Southeastern Massachusetts, and really just had a brainstorming session on what you'd like to see the Chamber's Education Committee focus on this year. We had a lot of great ideas from early childhood education and early childhood development from more of a public health standpoint, all the way through career placement. It was a really robust conversation, things like early college, educator recruitment and retention, going back to staffing. I mean, such a huge challenge right now is getting educators to staff the schools. I mean, elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, and our universities are facing this challenge. So, I mean, there's a lot of exciting things that we can get involved in. I think we can have an impact in, and hopefully, like Chris says, move the needle. Yeah. Because coming out of COVID, a lot has changed, right? A lot has changed in the workforce and in how we educate students. I know, Mike, you've said it had been several years since you'd been in a high school. But you went, you want to share that story?
Yeah, when we went to, my youngest is 28 years old. So it's 10, maybe 11 years since I actually was in a high school at the time. When we went to the Westport schools, and we had these great tours given by students, and we toured the schools. And one of the things, you hear about it, but until you really see it, it doesn't really hit home. But you had seventh graders really looking at doing their work on their laptops, and just sort of sitting around a table, or two of them, one of them sitting at a desk, and another one with their laptop on their knees and working and talking, communicating, and you could tell that they're looking at the same programs, and it was amazing to just see how much the way the kids are taught today mirrors the way people are working today.
Yeah.
And which was exciting to see, because you want the kids to be prepared.
Right. Right.
You know, and in many cases, you know, there are people like my age who they haven't responded in some cases, and they don't, you know, they're not comfortable using a laptop,
right,
and just picking it up and dropping it wherever they go, and, you know, making sure the Wi-Fi is working, and then just go to work and communicate with people and talk. And I mean, it is a way of learning, which was great to see.
Yeah.
And I had not, I mean, like I said, I hadn't been in the schools in 10 years.
Yeah.
So I didn't see that. And even though my son had a laptop when he would take it out if he was in the library or if he was in the lunchroom and he needed to get something done. He wasn't doing it in the middle of class.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think I'm really excited about the education committee this year. I think the business community can play a much bigger role in moving the needle for our young kids and young parents too. At that, I mean, education goes all the way down to pre-K. You know, like I mentioned, early childhood development. I mean, young individuals who can't find care are having a hard time. You know, it's easier to stay home with your kids than it is to get back into the workforce, and you know, that's not good for our local economy.
Right.
You know, as nice as that time is, and I can attest to that. As much as I love, you know, seeing my daughter, you know, it's good to have these, you know, young bright minds, you know, in the workforce.
Oh, it definitely is. I mean, they say it's a fact, really, that 80% of what you learn before you actually get to preschool.
Yeah.
And I mean, you think about that. That, you know, your daughter's not too far from being 80% of her brain development.
I know.
Makes you wonder what happens when she's actually in school and you spend all the money and go to college and things like that. But it is true.
Yeah,
it's very true, and it's good. I mean, it's helpful to understand that. But you know, we have taken a step. We really, a few years ago, moved really into early childhood education, and it's important to do that because, you know, there is, you can see in the schools, and Andrew O'Leary in New Bedford will tell you, Maria Ponce will tell you in Fall River, if you can get out in front and have the kids more prepared when they get to the schools, the successes are going to be great. There's going to be a lot less money spent on IEPs and other pieces of schooling. So it's important to get that done. And, you know, and I'm going to give a little plug for the program, The Basics. Katie and I have talked about The Basics on the show before, but it's really an important. The Basics is an important type of program, and that's why we support it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna, you know, take all the notes. Katie was typing away like a mad woman during this meeting because there were so many great ideas. So what we're gonna do is take all of those ideas, kind of narrow them down into some tangible things that we can really do, and hopefully break out into some subcommittees so we can really attack some of these issues and hopefully have an impact on some of this stuff throughout 2024.
Yeah, we're looking forward to see what we can do.
Absolutely.
So we have a few minutes left before we have to wrap up. But Ian, I know last time Mike had spoken a little bit about our Government Affairs Committee, and you are doing a lot of work. It's newly reborn. So do you want to give us a quick little rundown on what you have going on?
Yeah, so the Government Affairs Committee is a small group of chamber members who have expressed a special interest in government affairs or politics and policy. The idea is to get them into a room with our legislators, closed-door discussions, so you can have open and transparent conversations. So we're just kicked that off. We just had kind of our planning meeting to see what, discuss what we want to focus on. And we're going to meet on almost a monthly basis, not quite 12 times a year, 8 to 10 times a year. And we'll discuss federal issues, state issues, municipal issues. So if you are a chamber member and want to get involved, please reach out. If you're not and you want to become a chamber member and get involved, we'd love to have you. It's a lot of very great discussions, very unique discussions. A lot more gets done in, behind closed doors. As much as some people would, hate to admit it, you can have really meaningful conversations on, when no one else is listening, and that's what we try and do. So we're really looking forward to that and a lot of good discussions.
Yeah, there'll be some great discussions. There's been great discussions in the past with that.
Yep.
I used to attend when I was in Congressman Keating's office. I would go when we were two separate chambers. I would go to New Bedford and the Fall River meetings, and they're really great. They're really productive meetings. So I'm happy to be on the other side of the table for these going forward.
We're happy to have you, too.
Yeah, we're very happy to have you.
Yeah, so we're actually working on, I know you touched briefly before, we're going to wrap up with our upcoming events, but we are working on some congressional events that have to do with the Government Affairs Committee. But before I talk about that, I'm going to go in chronological order. We have on February 16th our bi-monthly Women's Power Lunch. All right, Ian, I'm going to quiz you.
Oh boy.
Last time, he's not prepared for this. Last time I asked Mike if he knew what Galentine's Day was. Do you know what Galentine's Day is?
I'm a little familiar with Galentine's Day. So I might not get it all. My understanding, it's like a Valentine's Day, all for women, to celebrate women.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
See, all right, A+ for you.
All right.
A+ for you. So we're doing our.
We need to do a Galentine's Day or something.
Yeah, we have to come up with something. But you know what? That's also a generational thing.
It is. So anyway, so we're having our Women's Power Lunch. That's going to be February 16th at 10 Cousins, which is one of our great members. They are doing an amazing spread for us, and we're going to have lots of fun games and networking. So it's a really great opportunity. If you're interested in attending, please reach out. On February 22nd is our Empire Ford Business After Hours. They've recently redone that location, so we're looking forward to being in Fall River for that one. And then, Ian, this is one of the things that that you and I have been working on together. It's our One South Coast Commonwealth Leaders Series, and we're going to have Secretary Yvonne Howe joining us.
Yeah. So that's going to be great.
Yeah.
That's going to be the first one that we have for the year. The secretary is a great speaker. I know she's excited to come on down and speak to the business community. I'm really excited. I think this is going to be a great series, and we couldn't kick it off with anyone better.
Yeah, Secretary Howe's terrific.
And for those who don't know, she is the Secretary of Economic Development. So she'll have a lot of great information for us, I think. So that's going to be on February 29th, held at Venus de Milo as a luncheon. And all of this information is available on our website at onesouthcoast.com. On March 14th, we have our job fair. That's going to be at White's from 9 to 2. So if you are looking for a job, you should come and visit us. If you are an employer that's looking to hire, we were talking about the staffing issues a lot of these companies are facing. Tables are available for purchase, so you can visit our website to purchase one there. And it's free to attend if you are a job seeker. And we're going to have Mass Hire Bristol and Mass Hire Greater New Bedford attending. They'll register any job seekers and get them on the email list for any job leads that come up in the area. So that's great. And then March 26th, our congressional luncheon with Congressman Jake Auchincloss. We're excited to have him back with us again. That's going to be at Fall River Country Club from 11:30 to 1. And again, registration for all of these is available on our website at onesouthcoast.com. Mike, that's it.
Yeah, we're looking forward to having Congressman Auchincloss. He's really been advocating, and he's in the middle of the discussion. The Middle East discussions. So we're really looking forward to being able to ask him questions and get his feedback. We're really looking forward to that. So we're ready to wrap up. Thank you very much, Ian. You did a great job on your first time through.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Katie, thank you as always.
Sure.
And we're wrapping up the One South Coast Business Connection. Thank you very much for watching.